Hey, nobody wants to wear stiff, starchy workwear. If you need to endure during your busiest, most important days, you want to be wearing Roan's Commuter collection. Your clothing looks professional, performs like activewear, and feels like total comfort. Roan has premium pieces to elevate every occasion. I'm talking about the world's most comfortable pants, the world's most comfortable dress shirts, quarter zips, polos, blazers, all boosted with functional performance properties. What does that mean? Well, Roan's signature technical fabrics, they stretch in every direction. Well, sideways, front ways, four-way stretch.
Four-way.
Not through time, though.
Yeah.
Not through time. But they're also very breathable. They fight odor. They fight the elements and basically work in every situation and setting you can imagine. It's time for unparalleled confidence without all the hassle. Each piece in Roan's Commuter collection is made to coordinate and layer for an instantly elevated look. The collection also features wrinkle release technology. That means you take it out of the washer. I'm talking about the nice shirts, all of it, hang it up, and the wrinkles just literally go away. Like I say, 100% machine washable. And it has this thing called Gold Fusion, which is an anti-odor technology. So you get more wears in between washes. I can tell you, when I went on the cruise, the Nation cruise recently, you know, I need to, there's a couple occasions where I'm having to dress for like nice for dinner or for the panels. I brought 2 of my Roan shirts. I didn't have to wash them. I didn't want to tell anybody, but I didn't wash them. They kept looking great and I kept wearing them. Fantastic. Also, my sport coat. Same deal. How am I going to pack this? I'm not worried about it because all I got to do is hang it up. The Commuter collection can get you through any workday straight into whatever comes next. Head to roan.com/majority report. Use the promo code majority report to save 20% off your entire order. That's 20% off your entire order when you head to RHONE.com/majority report. Use code majority report. It's time to embody your most confident self. And now, time for the show.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?
It is Tuesday, January 7th, 2025. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program, a little later from now, Alex Lawson, Executive Director of Social Security Works, will be on. Tell us about Biden's sign-off on changes to Social Security. And Trump and the Republicans, you could bet your bottom dollar's attempt to cut Social Security. Meanwhile, Trump waffles as Republicans debate a 1 or 2 bill reconciliation package to assault America. Trump election win certified yesterday without a coup attempt.
Wow.
Yes.
Well done.
First time in almost 8 years since that happened.
4.
Well, almost 8. Like a day after.
Rounding up.
Yep. Merrick Garland weighs releasing the January 6th in classified documents special counsel report. John Fetterman co-signs support for the Republican unconstitutional Laken-Riley Immigration Act.
John Fettermansion.
Senate Republicans also looking to sanction the International Criminal Court while they're at it. Today, 3 key special elections in Virginia will determine who controls the Virginia government. CIA releases documents on surveillance of Latino civil rights era activists. Rudy Giuliani found in contempt of court for trying to hide his $11 million estate that is due his victims of defamation. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau rules medical debt to be removed from credit reports. That's different from actually getting relieved, but it no longer can count against you in an attempt to secure credit. 22 years later, 11 Yemeni men, not one of whom had ever been charged, finally released from Guantanamo. There's 15 left. 6 have never been charged of anything. Meanwhile, Zuckerberg says political content welcome back to Meta, now without moderation.
Fun.
Port labor talks resume with a strike deadline 8 days away. And a Journal of American Medical Association study shows that less than 0.1% of adolescents get any type of gender-affirming care. So you weirdos who are focused on this as if it's a political issue, as opposed to one between families and their doctors, you're creepy. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is
Newsday Tuesday.
It's been a while since we had a real Newsday Tuesday.
Yes.
Maybe. I don't know if that's true.
Well,
And this isn't even really, we got Alex Lawson coming on, but
we established earlier your temporal sense, perhaps a bit off.
Yeah, we're trying to get the year down.
Yeah.
I got 2025 today.
You did get 2025. You did think that 2021 was 8 years ago, but we need to go back in time. That just happened.
No, I said it's the first time in 8 years that we have had someone sworn in and certified their presidency without a coup attempt.
Okay.
January 6, 2016 was the last time that we had a president whose results were certified without a coup attempt.
I just feel like
Today is January 7th. It's been 8 years since we had a president certified election results without a coup attempt.
Start this Newsday Tuesday off bickering like this.
Pedantry.
Yes.
Glad we nailed that. I've said much worse.
Also, we're not a math show either. So.
Exactly.
No.
I don't pay much attention to what goes on with these social media accounts, but it's important to put this in context. There's a couple of things we know. One, we know that the richest man on the planet bought Twitter. And when he realized that he was incapable of making it a profitable vehicle, he decided that, what he's actually going to do is just make it a mouthpiece from which he can buy the next presidential election. I mean, people assume that he started with this agenda, and I don't believe that's the case. Because I don't think it was a foregone conclusion when Elon Musk bought Twitter that Donald Trump was going to be the president. And I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. I don't think anybody could expect that Elon Musk could have necessarily bought, some rando Republican presidential candidate with the same efficacy in which he could buy Donald Trump. And we know now that he changed the algorithm to raise the profile of people supportive of Donald Trump and of right-wingers in general and, fasci types. We also know for a fact that Facebook and Instagram, Meta, whatever you want to call them, made a decision about a year ago to basically stop all political content. We never had a huge presence there, but I could see that our revenue, which was in the hundreds of dollars, back in our heyday on Facebook, went down to like literally tens of dollars.
And on Instagram, which they own, obviously, they basically made it so you had to manually go into your settings, really without fully notifying everybody, I think at first, to turn political content back on. So they throttled it down in the months leading up to the election. And now, as you say, they're announcing, oh, it's back, by the way.
Before we get that, the one other fact that I think people have to also understand is every piece of data we have gotten out of the election, just looking at this generically, the failures of the Democratic Party aside, shows that there was a direct correlation between consuming political news and voting for the Democrats. If you, on the end of the spectrum, the more political news you consumed, the more likely you were to vote for Democrats. For people who didn't get any political news, they almost 3-1 voted for Trump. So Facebook shuts down all of its political content a year before the election.
It's stressing people out, they say.
Stressing people out. And today, Mark Zuckerberg doing his best to dress like Michael Brooks.
or a TikToker who is 19 question mark.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
The perm is what does it.
Here he is, straight off of the
Doing the
beach
gritty.
in the Caribbean, leaving his puka beads on his desk. Here he is.
Hey everyone. I want to talk about something important today because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free expression, and I still believe this today. But a lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. Governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly political, but there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. These are things that we take very seriously, and I want to make sure that we handle responsibly. So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship.
Pause it 1 second, all right? And one thing, and this is maybe a little bit tangential, but this is always there with these conversations. Understand, when he talks about these complex systems, creating mistakes, et cetera, it is because they do not want to hire human beings who could do this on the regular basis, because the number of human beings they would have to hire would inhibit their profitability and make it harder for him to become chasing after the wealthiest man in the world.
And what he borrowed from Elon Musk was also that labor model. Like, Elon came into Twitter and he fired a bunch of folks. And you know what Meta did just a few months ago? They laid off a lot of people too. They're copying the community notes thing. Like, we made fun of how incompetent Elon Musk is. But the reality is he's making a lot of money and he's trying to make sure that he's as profitable as possible. This is what the board of directors at Facebook is going to say, like, hey, let's take some of that stuff too.
I don't think that's what because frankly, Musk is not making a dime on Twitter. It is a complete loss leader. He's made the money back in terms of what he's going to get in tax cuts from Donald Trump. Facebook and Google have been doing this for a decade more. Their moderation sucks because they don't want to pay people to do it. the trick for them has always been, the challenge has always been, how do we do this without paying labor? And so their complex system is so complex because you don't have a human being who can go like, oh, wait a second, this person's criticizing racists, not promoting racists, which a human being could do.
Right.
All right, go ahead.
Point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system.
Pause it. First off, also, this is all bullshit.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we have seen where it's gone, what's happened in terms of, economic sentiment. People have biases, and it begins to change their perception of facts. And when if the bird flu comes, and there's a problem, it should not be an up or down popularity vote by community notes of a platform that has been designed to attract a certain type of viewer as to whether what the R value in terms of like the ability of bird flu to be spread from person to person is, or what the morbidity rate is for the bird flu.
Yeah, I mean, did you notice what the things he listed there that were threats to the platform? Drugs, childhood exploitation, and terrorism. It sounds like he's literally just tailor making his message for the conservatives with the whole terrorism and drugs coming over the border, and then, hey, QAnon, there's also this sex trafficking here too. In the same way that earlier on last year, his letter to Jim Jordan and the Republicans basically framed it and said, we were, quote, repeatedly pressured by the Biden administration to remove social media content that would have been critical of them. So he, in addition to also donating to the inaugural fund, this is a full capitulation to Donald Trump, because Donald Trump, in a book that he put out, what was that earlier, around the same time, it had a quote that he said that he would put Zuckerberg, quote, spend the rest of his life in prison.
Right, read that whole thing.
Former President Donald Trump writes in the new book set to be published next week that Mark Zuckerberg plotted against him during the 2020 election and said the Meta chief executive would, quote, spend the rest of his life in prison if he did it again. What
an amazing coincidence that just days before Donald Trump is inaugurated, right after he is made president again, that Mark Zuckerberg does this.
And another coincidence is that Meta has an antitrust lawsuit in front of the government in April. What a complete coincidence that he would be sucking up to conservatives during this time period. This is Lena Khan, actually, this morning asked about it on CNBC.
What do you think, though, of the relationship that we're seeing between big tech and the next administration? What do you make of the meetings and pilgrimages with which we're seeing Mark Zuckerberg go to Mar-a-Lago, or we're seeing a Jeff Bezos or a Tim Cook? I mean, this is a very different kind of relationship than the administration, the Biden administration had, and specifically what you represented to the business community.
So I approached my job with a focus on faithfully enforcing the law and making sure we were doing that across the economy without fear or favor. There has been, as you know, a lot of concern about dominant digital gatekeepers, again, on both sides of the aisle. And even as we've seen the president-elect announce some of his future appointments, he's noted that he's making these appointments with a view that they're going to continue to maintain a tough line against some of these big technology companies.
Do you think they are, given the meetings that we're seeing, given the $1 million donations to the inaugural? I mean, on a very personal basis, there's only 8 business days left in your role. What do you make of that?
Well, look, I can't predict what future people in my position are going to do. It is true that the FTC has been very successful, including in its ongoing litigations against Amazon and Facebook. And so it's only going to be natural that those companies are going to want to come in and see, can they get some type of sweetheart deal, right? Can they get some type of settlement that's cheap, that settles for pennies on the dollar, and lets them escape from a liability finding in court?
Do you see that happening? Is that what you think is happening?
I hope it won't. But again, I can't predict that. And we are set to go to trial against Facebook this spring, against Amazon in fall of 2026. Of course, they would want a sweetheart deal, and I hope future enforcers wouldn't give them that.
Okay. I got some very bad news. When she says, I hope, she goes, what she's really saying is they probably will, but I want to put it on record that they're, that this is wrong.
They're screwing my investigation.
And when we talk about the way that these tech billionaires, they're oligarchs. This is like, you want to know what an oligarchy is? We've been saying for years, we're headed towards an oligarchy. This is a genuine oligarchy.
These are the oligarchs in charge of our communications.
This is it right here. We're there. This is a cartoon from Pulitzer Prize winning cartoonist Ann Telnaes, who was the Washington Post cartoonist until 2 days ago, when Bezos said, we're not going to allow this ad to run, which depicts Bezos and other tech executives, including dead Mickey Mouse, bowing at the altar of Donald Trump and bringing him money as a tribute. I mean, this is where we're at. This is it. You have these people are buying up all of our media, and they are essentially, brainwash is too strong of a word, but they are completely changing the information, the flow of information, and changing what information is. And they're not doing it for the entire country. They may not even be doing it for the majority of the country, but they're doing it for enough people. And just look at the data. There is no doubt the Democrats failed to deliver a message. But it's also quite clear that those people who did not consume political information voted for Trump overwhelmingly because they didn't see a problem or have any insight into what policies he was actually going to pursue or not going to pursue. And we have the biggest online platforms completely reversing themselves a day after Donald Trump is certified as president.
Politico asked that question in a different way, and basically it was also if you consumed mostly your media on social media as well, and it was the same kind of correlation result that you described, Sam.
Don't get confused by the framing of this as a woke versus a free speech issue. This is a workplace authoritarian issue. This isn't about a general sort of moderation strategy. This is about Facebook employees. Here's from 4 years ago. Facebook employees have spoken out in anger after CEO Mark Zuckerberg said he planned to take no enforcement action against a post by the President Donald Trump following the killing of George Floyd. The staffers said the post has no place. This is Mark Zuckerberg saying, hey, my woke employees, I'm going to open up a office in Austin now because you are trying to pressure me to do things in my company that I don't want to do. And me and Joe Kaplan, the executives, we decide what speech, not you. You take orders. So anybody who's not emphasizing the labor issue of these free speech issues is, I think, doing a service to the boss.
And be clear, in that same speech that the surfer boy gave, Endless Summer Zuckerberg provided, the other bullet points were that they're going to allow political content again. Think about this. They shut down political content the year before an election.
Odd. And another billionaire purchased the top journalistic social communications company.
But Where was the outcry from all the free speech absolutists when they decided political speech is no longer allowed on this platform? Yeah. And you didn't hear any because it's somebody's social media platform. There is no free speech issues here. Yeah. There are no free speech issues here. They are privately owned. Do I think they should be privately owned? No. I think we should rip these things apart with antitrust. And not necessarily you can't have a big platform, but let's make it completely not profitable in allowing their algorithms and their data scraping and their selling of your data and the cross-platform advertising. There's plenty of ways of doing that. But the bottom line is not a free speech issue. It is about this guy manipulating and being one of a couple, whether it's like, Bezos with, the Post and frankly, what books you can buy on Amazon.
I mean, Rupert Murdoch in the previous generation.
Rupert Murdoch or Elon Musk with Twitter or, what's that? The big owner-operated Sinclair Media or Fox or whatever. This is just another story like that. It's just that this is a little bit more all-encompassing now because social media is far more broadly based. And he's coming out days before the Trump administration. We're going to allow political content again. And not only are we going to allow political content, we're not going to decide when any of it's true.
And especially if you want to do anti-immigrant stuff or anti-trans stuff, we went too far on that stuff specifically. Doesn't mention any like Palestine protests or stuff like that. We'll see any double standards.
And he did. He mentioned terrorism. He did. He mentioned terrorism. Yep. That's the other thing. When he says drugs, terrorism, childhood exploitation, what he means is the immigration. That's fentanyl coming over the border, even though a majority comes through ports of entry. QAnon, childhood exploitation stuff, and anti-trans stuff will be a part of that. And terrorism means protests against the genocide in Gaza.
Yep. And this is what you're looking at. People should just be aware of what's going on with this.
And now we got to get back on Facebook.
Yep. If you have a Facebook account, start sending our stuff around. If you have an Instagram account, start sending our stuff around. I think what is it, Majority FM? I haven't paid much attention to it. But start sending our stuff around because we're back at war on that platform. Because they're going to spread, it is open season. Mm-hmm. Well, we'll talk about this new report about what the percentage of of adolescents 8 to 17 who receive any type of gender affirming care, medical care. So tiny, it's going to blow your minds because we have been told this is rampant. It's a social contagion. It's so easy to walk in there and get this kind of treatment. Twisted ass people.
It's like Minions.
Yeah.
All right. We got a couple ads here. You wouldn't know it, but I'm sleeping better these days.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. Actually, Cozy Earth bedding has changed the way I sleep for a long time. I sleep cooler. That's it. It's temperature regulating. And sleep is hugely important to me. It is to everybody, but I've always had trouble sleeping. I just sleep too hot. And I want to thank Cozy Earth for both sponsoring this episode and essentially sponsoring my sleep. And you can give the gift of luxury this holiday season, post-holiday season, with 40% off using the code Majority Report at CozyEarth.com/Majority Report. Look, I love my Cozy Earth sheets, but I think I'm used to them now. The thing that I am obsessed with is my Cozy Earth hoodie.
I got Cozy Earth pajamas as a Christmas gift for somebody, and it might have been the biggest hit of the entire holiday season.
Their stuff is made, and it's the same with the sheets, with bamboo. Essentially, it was called viscose. and it's incredibly soft and incredibly durable. And like I say, it is breathable and temperature regulating. You can check out Cozy Earth best-selling bamboo sheet set. Like I say, made from 100% premium viscose from bamboo. The sheets are uniquely soft. They get softer with every wash. They're bamboo pajama set, perfected at Cozy Earth, crafted with a soft stretch knit that features enhanced breathability and luxurious drape. This lightweight set sleeps degrees cooler than cotton. Keep your temperature just right through the night. All this stuff they have. I have Cozy Earth towels and bath mats, but the jogger and the hoodie is amazing because it's both lightweight but warmer and heavier in like
so you can
denser.
use it in the winter and in
I can use it the winter and the summer.
summer.
I can wear it underneath like a jacket because that's the Massachusetts style where I don't know if that's just Massachusetts, but that's the way I grew up.
Gotcha.
It's fantastic. But they have all sorts of great products over at Cozy Earth. They pride themselves on responsible production of its products. Cozy Earth bedding has a 10-year warranty. And also, bamboo, it grows like a weed, literally. So much more sustainable. A better year starts with better sleep. Wrap yourself in Cozy Earth. Don't wait. Head to CozyEarth.com/Majority Report now. Use my exclusive code Majority Report. Get up to 40% off. That's CozyEarth.com/Majority Report. You get if you get a post-purchase survey, say you heard about Cozy Earth from the Majority Report. It'll help us. But believe me, help yourself. We'll put a link in the YouTube and podcast description. As well as at majority.fm. Also, it's a new year, 2025. You're thinking, how am I going to make this year different? How am I going to build something for myself? I want to be my own boss. Good luck with that. Or see if I can turn this business idea I've been kicking around into reality, but I don't know how to make it happen. Well, I'll tell you, there are a lot of challenges in having your own small business. But one of them, for us here, has been made incredibly easy. That is our merch, shop.majorityreportradio.com. Why? Because Shopify is how you're going to make it happen, and I'll tell you how. The best time to start your new business is right now. That's the other thing. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. But Shopify can make it simple to create your brand, open for business, and get your first sale. Get your store up and running easily. Thousands of customizable templates. You don't need any coding. You don't need design skills. All you got to do is drag and drop. They got powerful social media tools that let you connect all your channels and create shoppable posts and help you sell everywhere people scroll. Shopify makes it easy to manage your growing business. They help with details like shipping, taxes, payments from one single dashboard, allowing you to focus on the important stuff like growing your business. And what happens if you don't act now? Will you regret it? What if someone beats you to the idea? Selling those Emma Majority hats.
I know.
Don't kick yourself when you hear this again in a year because you didn't do anything now. With Shopify, your first sale is closer than you think. Shopify honestly makes it very easy. I was very intimidated. We held off on merch for way, way too long because I was afraid, like, I'm not going to be able to coordinate this. We're not going to be able to upload,
too much work.
New material. It's going to be too much work. It's going to be too complicated. We're going to have 14 different systems that we have to connect. Shopify does it all. And when we sell stuff at a live show, it's completely integrated into our Shopify. So we know immediately in terms of like inventory, et cetera, et cetera. Point of sale, all across all social media platforms. Established in 2025 has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/majority. All lowercase. Go to shopify.com/majority. Start selling with Shopify today. Shopify.com/majority. We will include the link in the podcast and YouTube descriptions. All right. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, Alex Lawson will be here. We are back. Sam Seder, Emma Vigeland on the Majority Report. It is a pleasure to welcome back to the program Alex Lawson. He's the executive director of Social Security Works. Alex, great to see you again.
Thanks for having me.
There's a couple of things I want to talk to you about. I spent the other day explaining to people how the retirement age has risen as per the 1983 deal that was made, the Greenspan Commission and Ronald Reagan. And that despite the fact that we have less workers per retirees, that's all made up by productivity. Despite the fact that people are living longer, at least in the top 50 percentile of the income distribution, not necessarily the lower 50. The real issue with Social Security is the cap and how much of America's income is taxed by the Social Security wage, much less than it was in 1983. But before we get there, let's talk about what Biden signed the other day, the Social Security Fairness Act, because I know about this because my mom was a state worker. She was a professor at a community college. And she didn't get her Social Security got curbed because of it.
Yeah, I love your intro, Sam. I think you're possibly a bigger Social Security nerd than me, but I'm willing to
but I'm a close second, I like to think.
So it's actually, your setup's perfect because the 1983 reforms signed by Ronald Reagan, they included that raising the retirement age from 65 to 67. So currently, it is 67 for people who are approaching that age, and that's called the full retirement age. An important thing to note here is that has nothing to do with when you actually retire. You can retire whenever you want. What that age is the age at which you receive the full benefit amount. You can retire. You can start receiving benefits as early as 62, and you can delay until 70. The reason that's important is because it's not a retirement age. It's a mathematical formula, and each year you raise it is a 7% benefit cut. It's not like a 7% benefit cut. It is an across-the-board 7% benefit cut. So what Ronald Reagan did is he cut everyone's benefits by 14%. Okay, so 65 to 67, 14% benefit cut. We'll come back to, yes, that means that the current proposals to raise it to 70 are a 21% benefit cut. But when Reagan signed that 14% benefit cut into law, he also put in place, because he hated public employees, right? If you know the history of Ronald Reagan.
Before we can get to this, I just want to add one thing too. In 1983, the idea that Social Security as one of three legs on a three-legged stool as to what your retirement would be, people had yet to be able to look back on the Reagan era and see that there was going to be a full-on assault on defined benefit pensions. It used to be you worked for a company, they put money into your pension, they told you the day you signed a deal with them, I'm working here. If you work here for 20 years or 25 years, you're going to get a pension, and your pension is going to be $1,500 a month or $2,000 a month or whatever it is, defined benefit. And during the Reagan era, that was assaulted and destroyed and became a defined contribution pension, which meant there's a definite amount I got to put in, but what I get out, the company can play loose and fast with it. And also an attempt to basically juice the stock market by putting a 401k in there. So even back then, a 14% cut ultimately for people born after 1960 is still seen in the context of a pension system that no longer exists.
That's totally true. This is why it's fun talking with you. I could just sit here nodding along. You have to understand, like, the magnitude of what you just went over, though, is most people, just because it's hard, right? Like if you never had it. But what we lost with pensions is unimaginable. The freedom and security that they provided, the fact that you knew, and this isn't like a new concept, just for the record, like pensions are a really old concept because people knew like at some point you're going to become old and you're going to want to retire. So a company needs to actually replace some of your wages to keep you working. The idea that you get nothing from the company that you put 25, 35 years of your life into, that's a radical, reactionary, and brand new concept that started in the 80s with Reagan. And if you want to Google it and kind of be sad, funny, the guy who created 401ks is deeply sorry about it now. He never thought that it would lead to the total destruction of the pension system in the United States of America. And he admits that it's a huge mistake. The only thing that 401ks did is made the rich even richer, and working people just got hosed.
And so Social Security becomes that much more important as an insurance as to keeping you out of poverty when you're elderly.
Exactly. For my age, for folks who are just entering retirement now, and it actually is just it's a scale. The younger you are, the more important Social Security is going to be for your retirement because of a multitude of things, but stagnating wages, student loans, all sorts of things that the younger you are, the worse financial situation you're in right now, the worse your retirement situation is going to be. And that's who these billionaires are like, just cut their benefits by 21%. Do you want to go back to WEP-GPO though?
Yes, please. Yeah. So Reagan, hostility towards public workers. Yep.
He hates public workers, so he creates this policy. I don't want to go too deep into it. If you want to email me, I'll give you all the details. But it was a brutal attack. And it was part of this larger package. So they were able to get it through because it was like, okay, we're going to literally just take Social Security benefits from teachers, police officers, and firefighters. And it was like, what? Why? And Reagan was like, because we don't like public workers. We want to diminish their power, right? Because they were against his neoliberal agenda. Organized labor fought against, giving all of the money to the billionaires. So this was a policy enacted 41 years ago, specifically designed to hurt teachers, firefighters, and police officers. And what it does is it just lowers some of those people's Social Security benefits by a significant amount. It's an enormous reduction. So the average Social Security benefit is only $1,900 as is, and you're talking about hundreds of dollars in monthly reductions, up to a grand. It could basically have somebody's benefits. And teachers, firefighters, and police officers, and it's been in place since '83. And through really, I'll tell you one thing is when I've spoken in every state in this country except for 4, and everywhere I go, I do my speech, billionaires are the problem, because they are. We just need to tax billionaires the same rate as everyone else. We can expand Social Security. When it comes to the Q&A, the first question is always from a teacher, a police officer, a firefighter, a public employee, somebody who is hit by WEP-GPO, because it's so deeply unfair. And
WEP-GPO?
That's what the policies are called. It's easiest to just call them WEP-GPO and think of it as reducing police officers, firefighters, and teachers' benefits. And what Biden just signed was he got rid of it. He repealed WEP and GPO. So no public, no teachers, no firefighters, no cops are getting their Social Security checks cut anymore. And it was this massive grassroots effort. All those people who would raise their hand, stand up and be like, what are you going to do about WEP GPO? And I will admit I was wrong. I did not think that we could do this alone, standalone. And it does have some deficiencies because it is standalone. It was done bipartisanly. So we did not tax billionaires to pay for it. But I didn't think we could get it across the finish line. And
so this was passed statute. This was a law passed by both houses.
Bipartisanly passed by both houses. It's Rep. Abigail Spanberger, former Rep. Abigail Spanberger, who's running for governor in Virginia. It really was her who really muscled it through in the Senate, Sherrod Brown. But you did have Susan Collins. You did have it had bipartisan support in Congress. And then President Biden signed it into law on Sunday. I was there. And you have a room full of firefighters, police officers, and teachers who've been fighting for this for decades.
Wow.
And it was a very powerful moment. And I'd like to get into the deficiencies because it just is about what's coming. But first, I'd like to celebrate the fact that, I get emails and direct messages and texts and phone calls from people who are like, my mother, my father, me, right? Like, I can't express to you how much of a difference this will make in my life. This will allow me to stay in my house. This will allow my mother to not have to go into a facility, right? I mean, the magnitude of what this is, it's $90 billion. So you can just kind of have a number magnitude. But in terms of what it does for people's lives, it was a incredible achievement. And it was against all odds. It was the last thing that happened. The Senate passing the Social Security Fairness Act. I was sitting there on Twitter, just refreshing the cloakroom, just waiting for it. And it passed at like 12:47 a.m., right? It was the last thing they did. They were actually supposed to be closed, or the session was supposed to be over at 12 a.m. But they did it. They got it in under the wire. Biden signed it into law. Everyone will get a lump sum payment because it starts in January 2024. So every month from January 2024 to when it automatically switches, sometime probably February, March of this year, people will also receive a check for the difference of every month from January 2024 till then.
And what happens
huge win
with postal workers? Are they included in this, or
anyone?
Go
ahead. There's a constellation of public employees. Anyone who was WEP'd or GPO'd, and I know, but it's just easiest to say those because that's how everyone talks about it. It's over primarily, and it's close enough to 100% that you can just think of it as 100%. It's police officers, firefighters, and teachers. There are other situations with different pensions and that affect different public employees. The Postal Service pension issue is generally a separate thing, and it's an attack on the Postal Service. And like Mark Dimenstein, the president of APWU, was at the signing of WEP GPO repeal because they did put in incredible work because it's the same attack, right? The same billionaires kneecapping the mailman and complaining that the mail is late are the same billionaires. So if they get
one done, then it moves the postal workers up to the next sort of project, I guess, to deal with it. Exactly. One other point, because I want to move into like the attacks that we can anticipate seeing on Social Security, because I know Donald Trump has said, no, I'm not going to do Social Security, but at the same time, just in the same way that half his voters don't believe that he's actually going to do the tariffs, and they may be right, or that the tariffs are a lot less, or they're not going to get rid of every immigrant. Like Donald Trump says what's expedient at any given time, but when push comes to shove, you can't have Doge or whatever that dumbass, meme coin name they have for that committee is, and cut the things they want to cut without cutting Social Security. And particularly, all you got to do is listen to the Republican lawmakers. They all want after this. But I just want to start with one thing so that we get this out of the way. One of the things, we're going to hear one of two things, it seems to me. People are living longer. And like you say, every year you move the retirement age up is a cut of 7%. And they try and do it for people who are 25 or 35 now, because at age 25, 35, you generally don't think about Social Security. I'm in my late 50s. All I'm doing is thinking about my Social Security. And so I've known it's been 67 for a long time. I just watch it go 66, 10 months, and 67. But the other thing they'll also say is like, well, why do people who are rich need Social Security? So why don't we cut down on those people? But we have a mechanism, and there may be some cops unions out there that have a great benefit and they're going to make a lot of money, but we already have a mechanism to means test Social Security. And that's called taxation, right? Like taxes, if somebody buys the insurance, which is what Social Security is, I'm buying insurance so that when I retire, if I make it that long, I will not be living in poverty. That's my insurance. This is my insurance plan to make sure I'm not going to live in poverty. If it turns out that I'm not living in poverty, I happen to have struck it rich, doing podcasting, then the government can claw back that money in the form of taxation because I'm making so much money. I don't need the Social Security. We don't need to create some special system to means test because taxes do that already.
Yes. Again, you're just totally correct. People are not living longer. Some people are living longer. Rich people are living longer. Not rich people, life expectancy has actually been falling, and hopefully will reverse that trend. But everyone is not living longer. And also, if everyone was living longer, I don't want every year I live longer to be spent working, right? It's my time. The billionaires don't own my time. So A, everyone's not living longer. B, even if we were, I don't want to give that time to the billionaires. Well, I want to take that time with my family.
You know why they want you still working too? Because as long as they keep expanding the pool of workers, every time it's a 7% cut on your Social Security, but it also ends up hitting you as a depression of wages. Because if we keep people in the workforce a year or two longer, that means that they're competing with younger workers and it's going to depress wages.
That's exactly right. And, the greeters at Walmart, right? The heartwarming story of the 102-year-old who's been working for Walmart for that's not heartwarming. That's a dystopian reality of now. That's the biggest blinking sign of failure of the United States of America, is that we look at that and allow that to happen, right? Yeah. That we look at, the billionaires buying another yacht paid for by denying healthcare, by delaying healthcare. Sorry, you get what I'm saying. That is exactly right. If they can keep people in working longer, they want as large of a powerless and less educated pool of workers as possible, because when workers have power, they demand that those productivity gains go to the workers and not to the billionaires. On the means testing, you're also totally correct. You'll hear this from people when I'm, in their face with a camera and being like, will you pledge not to cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid? And they'll be like, it's like a Mitt Romney thing. Like, well, I don't even need my Social Security benefits. And I'm like, fine, man, donate them to the Treasury. You can do whatever you want with your money at any time. No one is forcing you to collect your benefits. But that doesn't give you the right to take other people's benefits away. And I will tell you, when they talk about means testing with Social Security, they're not talking about Mitt Romney and Elon Musk.
Right.
They're talking a lot about middle class, upper middle class, working people. And the point is, that's not where you get, the problem isn't in that rich people get benefits. There's not a lot of money there. The problem is that rich people, ultra wealthy, billionaires don't pay in. Right? They don't pay in. They only pay in on the first $170,000 of their income. So they're like very nobly like, oh, well, I don't need my benefits. Like, fine, donate them to the Treasury, but we're going to force you to pay the same rate as the rest of us. And that's what they're trying to take our eyes off of, is the actual problem.
They're trying to undercut the universality of the program. And can you just speak to that on Social Security and how durable that makes social programs? Because, with Medicare and Social Security, they are going to come for it, but I think they're going to do it in more subtle ways like the ones you describe.
That's exactly what they have to do. Because when we flex with universal programs, they cannot come on your program and say, I'm definitely cutting Social Security, right? Because they'll immediately lose their job. I've been all over this country. I've polled this every which way. It's 90% of the American people do not want to see a single penny of Social Security benefits cut. They want to tax the ultra wealthy. 90%. It's totally bipartisan. Everywhere in this country, Republicans, independents. I have a poll that shows that libertarians, the majority of libertarians, would favor taxing rich people over cutting benefits. I have polled this every way you can. And everywhere outside of Washington, D.C., everybody loves Social Security, which is why the people who want to cut it are the billionaires and the politicians who dance to the tunes that they call here. But you'll notice I make a lame joke over and over again, but the first rule of Destroy Social Security Club is don't talk about Social Security. They never talk about it because they're afraid of it. They talk about entitlements, right? They talk about things that people don't.
We got to
really
make hard
know.
choices.
Right.
Exactly.
We just got to make hard choices.
They actually usually come with their hands crossed over their heart, and they're like, I love Social Security. I just want to make sure it's there for my children and their children. And that's why I'm going to cut their benefits by 30%, right? Like, they never say that final part, but they know that if the American people find out what they're up to, they get destroyed. And that's because of the universality of the program. It is entirely true. You see it over and over again. When a program is universal, when it benefits everybody and everybody feels ownership over it, because they should, right? No one gives us Social Security. We pay into it. It's ours. It's my money. And so if this guy is coming to cut my benefits, they're reaching their hands into my pocket and stealing my money. And that's how everyone rightly feels. So we use the popularity and universality of Social Security to defeat their attacks. And mainly what our job is to just expose their attacks, right? They're like, the Doge, they name it some dumb thing so it seems silly, the Doge caucus. And we're like, that is cutting Social Security and Medicare. And then people hate it. They're like, means testing. Okay, sounds fair. That means cutting Social Security and Medicare. And then people hate it. And on. But you guys, you all remember, they called it the chain CPI. They always try to make it super confusing. And
this was during the Obama years.
Right.
Digby and I used to have conversations about this every week during the Obama years. They wanted to cut Social Security by limiting the buying power of Social Security by basically decreasing the rate in which your cost of living adjustments would increase. And you're already underestimating because seniors actually have a higher cost of living rate of growth because they end up spending more of their income on things like drugs and healthcare, which is the most inflationary of all the sort of things that you have to buy.
Again, absolutely correct. I had my favorite policy. This is a sidetrack, so keep me on track, but I just have to tell you this. Because at that time, they were proposing lower cost of living adjustments. I'm like, have you ever met people? Have you ever talked to people who aren't giving your campaign money? Like, go out and ask people, hey, is your COLA cost of living adjustment, is it too high? Just right, too low. I've done that, right? I have people raise their hand, and it's exactly as you think. Everyone's like, it's way too low. It's not just that it undercounts medical inflation, and it also overcounts a lot of things that current workers use that seniors don't use. So it does not accurately reflect the cost that seniors face. So I created a policy, which is still in the can. It has not seen the light of day, but maybe I'll revitalize it. It was called the Helping Americans Protect and Preserve Yearly Cost of Living Adjustments, or the Happy COLA. And all it did was switch the cost of living adjustment on Social Security to the medical inflation rate. So we also keep track of the medical inflation rate, right? So every year, and it's like 10 to 13%. And so I proposed that to people and they're like, that's way too high. Medical inflation is way too high. And I'm like, exactly. We should get medical inflation under control, right? Because it's crazy that we just allow pharmaceutical corporations and insurance corporations to jack up the prices every year by 13% with no reason other than greed.
Right.
So anyways,
the Biden administration did, in 2026, there will be some relief, at least with some of those 10 Medicare drug prices, right smack dab in the middle of Donald Trump's term. But we'll take it because it's going to improve people's lives.
Now, I want to talk to you about
$2,000 out-of-pocket cap, January, just now, right? 6 days ago. No one on Medicare is going to ever pay more than $2,000 a year for their drugs. That happened. That's Biden. That's part of the IRA. We fought pharma, and we did win some.
All right. I want to do something because I want to talk about, the fix for this. And because I've got two IMs, which drive me crazy because I did this on Friday and they didn't know. I'm 43 years old. Until last year, I had no idea the cap on it. I don't think I'm a moron, so I assume there are a ton of other people that don't know this either. We mentioned this before. In 1983, 90 to 91% of all wage income in this country were subject to the Social Security tax. But now, because we have such wealth disparity and so many people are hoarding so much money, that it actually is only 85%. So here is what it looks like for people right now. If it's 6.2% tax. If you make $30K, you pay $1,860 in wage taxes. If you make $50K at 6.2, you pay $3,100 in wage taxes. Now, you're going to get this back. It's an insurance policy, and you're going to get it when you're Social Security. 6.2% of $75,000, $4,650. 6.2 of $100,000, $6,200. 6.2 of $176,000, which is the top bracket, you pay $10,912. Now that's where it ends, because if you make $400,000 at 6.2%, you should be paying $24,800 into it. But no, you are paying exactly what the guy or couple or woman or whomever is getting at 176. You're paying 2.7% rate. The person making $30,000 paid 6.2% rate. But if you make $400,000, suddenly you're paying a 2.7 rate. If you make $3 million, are you paying a 6.2% rate? No, that would be $186,000. Instead, you're paying $10,912. You're paying a 0.37% rate. If you make $100 million, are you paying $6.2 million in wage taxes? 6.2% rate? No. You're paying $10,912, just like the dude who's paying who makes $176,000 for a 0.01% rate to pay into Social Security. That's effed up.
And that's what it's all about. That's why they're like, no, we don't need our benefits. And you're like, I don't care about your benefits. I care about the fact that the more money you make, the less as a percentage you pay into the system. It's a regressive payment structure on Social Security. The crazy thing, it's not crazy, it's by design, is that the benefits are so progressive that Social Security continues to be this massive engine against income and wealth inequality. But imagine how much more powerful it will be if we put a progressive taxation for revenue on there, right? Like we do with everything else. The more money you make, the more you pay in, because the higher your ability to pay in. You're telling me that the auto worker retirees that I spend a lot of time talking to, they could afford to pay their entire lives the full percentage into Social Security, but Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos are going to have a hard time. It's going to dampen their standard of living somehow. No, it has nothing to do with that. They can obviously afford it. There's a deep rot and sickness in them. And so we can't ever think that the billionaires are going to be like, oh, okay, maybe I should just do the right thing. They don't do the right thing. And it takes policy to correct this problem, a mistake that is an artifact of the when the New Deal was created that makes no sense today, which is the cap. But you also brought this up, Sam, and you made your listeners do a ton of math. So I'm proud of everybody. I was trying to follow along too. But you also laid out, and this is really important because it's two different things. One, there's a cap, right? So 176,000. Two, since the 1980s, almost 100% of productivity gains have gone to people who make more than the cap. That's the entire problem. And you don't have to trust me on this. You can Google it and put Social Security Chief Actuary or you can go to our website and we have it all there as well. They study this. The actuaries look at this. So they have a fact sheet. Is it because people are living longer? No. Is it because people
we have less workers per retirees?
No. Also, is it because unauthorized immigrants are getting benefits? Because that's a big one that Donald Trump tries to sell right now. No, that can't actually happen. So that has no influence on it. They go down the list and then they end with it's above 90%, which is as close as you can get in actuarial terms to it's the whole issue is that rich people have made all of the money for the last 4 decades and they don't pay in any more of that into Social Security. And that's shortened the solvency of the trust fund by 30 years. So the billionaires have not only robbed, all of the productivity gains, they also stole the future from Social Security. So Social Security is not going bankrupt. That's also on the myth fact. It cannot go bankrupt. It cannot go bankrupt. It's funded by workers' contribution. So as long as there are workers, there is Social Security. But it is true that the baby boom generation in 1983 started paying in more to build up this whole trust fund, which is the 6th time.
To deal with the baby boom. That's why they call it. There was more babies who would ultimately end up being retirees.
One piece that I know and your listeners probably know it, but just to reiterate, the baby boom is not the largest generation, though. So
millennials are now.
The millennials are. So it should be called the baby bulge. A lot of people think of it as like, oh, it's a boom and then there's a bust, because there are countries that has happened. But this is just the baby boom were the biggest until then, and then they all had children, and there's the millennials. We have immigration that makes up the difference. So we have enough workers. If we had comprehensive immigration reform, we'd have absolutely, no problem. That's the best solution. But because all of the gains went to rich people, in 2035, there will be the showdown. So this is sort of the pivot to what's going on now, Sam, and also like what will absolutely happen. So it's called an action forcing event. In 2035, if Congress does nothing, everyone's benefits will go down by 17% because Social Security can't borrow money. So the benefits going out just match the revenue that's coming in. And that's what all of our fight is, sort of setting up the landscape or the chessboard for that fight. And the Republicans, they want to do it all on the benefit cut side, right? So they would like to do it now and say they're saving it in the future, but all their proposals are just larger benefit cuts than that 17%, right? A 21% benefit cut. That's more than 17%. I'm not a math genius, but even I can do that.
No, you nailed that.
Where what we say is the Republicans, they did because they danced to the billionaires' tune, but the billionaires caused this problem. It wasn't the workers. So we want it done entirely on the revenue side. 1983 was blended, a little bit of cuts, a little bit of revenue. And a lot of people point to 83 and they're like, oh, see, that's fair. The president of Social Security Works, Nancy Altman, aid on the Greenspan Commission. She worked on it, okay? You can read her book that shows that there's nothing similar between 1983 and where we are now. So like you said, just the disappearance of pensions alone. But there's other factors involved. Mainly it's that income, wealth, inequality.
Right. We didn't have that. We didn't have such wealth disparity that a few people were hoarding essentially all the money and more or less hiding it from Social Security above the cap. That dynamic did not exist at that time. And so this is an opportunity for us to fix it. And as far as people saying, Social Security is going to run out of money, again, like you say, statutorily, Social Security cannot contribute to the deficit and it cannot borrow money. The only thing will happen in 2034 or 5, I guess, at this point, and it fluctuates. And again, that's also the B estimate. There's an A, B, and C estimate as to when that trust fund is going to expire. And we're in the B when we talk about this. But let's just assume it's 2035. There'll be automatic cuts. We can avoid this. And I just want to remind people that, like, the idea that this is inevitable is ridiculous. As of now, every single function of the U.S. government is bankrupt in 2026 because there's no budget. There's been no money allotted to it. They have not a single dollar. The only thing that we know is going to exist at that time is actually Social Security because it operates outside of the budget. So Congress needs to just step in, say, we don't need a cap. It's stupid. Maybe you have making $3 million a year right now, but Bitcoin could crash and you could have no money when you're 67 and you're going to need your Social Security insurance and it'll be there for you. So, Alex, I want to make sure that we're in touch with you. And when we start to see this happen, because it's inevitable. This is what Republicans do. They have been doing this since literally 1936. They have said that Social Security is communism. We got to get rid of it. And they're going to come for it. Al Gore, I'm old enough to remember when Al Gore was made fun of, for his lockbox comment. And no one understood what he was talking about until George Bush walked down to Treasury Department and said, hey, man, there's no money in Social Security. It's just a bunch of papers saying I owe you, and that's it. He tried to privatize it in his second term, and we're going to see the same thing from Donald Trump. And you're going to keep us informed when that starts to happen.
And it's already happening. So I'll just keep you informed as to the status of the fight. Right now, it's a pledge campaign. We're going to get every member of Congress to pledge no cuts to Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. If they won't take that pledge, we're driving a billboard truck to every senior facility in their district, and we'll do everything that we can to send them to the unemployment line. So you can find out information about that. We'll be all over social media, but our website, socialsecurityworks.org. And you don't have to wait, Sam. It's already underway. The Doge caucus. Just watch financial news because that's where it's all coming from. Watch CNBC, and they're already talking about how the inevitability of how you have to cut Social Security because you're going to give these giant tax handouts to billionaires, which piles up debt. So the 10-year Treasury notes value is going to go down. And the only way to deal with that is to cut Social Security benefits, leaving out, you could also tax billionaires. The attack is on, and we're in the middle of it, and we need you and all of your listeners' helps to win.
Alex Lawson, Social Security Works. You know how much I love having you on. We literally got an IM said, Sam, you got to try and be less horny when you do this interview. Kids watch this show. So Social Security, this audience knows Social Security is one of my favorite topics. And you, for decades now, I think it's decades, I have watched you get win after win after Social Security. So I can't thank you enough for coming on.
Thanks for having me, as always.
Thanks so much.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break. Where did Emma go?
Fixing my camera.
I thought it'd be to fix hers. We're having a little bit of a slowdown on our...
Is that us? Is that happening in...
Ping.
Oh, we...
All right, well,
okay,
how about this?
All right, Alex, you can go. Why are we getting that thumb thing?
That happens. That happened to me. I was on FaceTime with somebody the other day. I think it's like an
how
automatic.
Does that happen on Ping? I guess it's part of like.
You connect now.
Yeah.
Me?
Yeah. Oh, now it's just a one shot of me on a Tuesday. What should I do? Now I'm paralyzed with anxiety about what I'm going to say. I don't know. I could do a plug. Bradley and I will be back on ESPN on Thursday. We will break down the playoffs coming up, the different scenarios that we have, our picks against the spread, youtube.com/ESVN show. And Matt Leck, what's happening on Left Reckoning?
Tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, Left Reckoning. Have Amina Sheikh and Luke Savage on. Very Canada heavy episode tonight. So Canadians, don't miss out because I don't know if we're going to get this Canadian in for a while. So patreon.com/Left Reckoning.
Folks, also just a reminder, you can support this program by becoming a member at jointhemajorityreport.com. When you join themajorityreport.com, what you do is you get the free show, free of commercials, and also you get to IM us on the fun half. You get the fun half. You support the show, and I would say twice a year we have something special for members. I don't know what it is usually, but we'll get even better at that as time goes on. Believe me. Join themajorityreport.com. Also, justcoffee.coop. It's a fair trade coffee roaster in Madison, Wisconsin. And they treat their suppliers amazingly well. They treat, all their employees are owners of the company. It's a co-op. And their coffee is delicious. And you can get the Majority Report blend.
Whoa.
JustCoffee.coop. Use the coupon code Majority, get 10% off. We got to make sure we correct that in the description of the podcast and YouTube as well. 10% off. Use the coupon code Majority. Folks, see you in the fun half. 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 9 months from now. And I don't think it's going to be the same as it looks like in 6 months from now. And I don't know if it's necessarily going to be better 6 months from now than it is 3 months from now. But I think around 18 months out, we're going to look back and go like, wow. What is that going on? It's nuts. Wait a second. Hold on for a second.
The Majority Report.
Emma, welcome to the program.
Hey.
Matt.
What is up, everyone?
Nomi Key.
You did it.
Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon.
Bradley, you want to say hello?
Sorry to disappoint everyone. I'm just a random guy.
It's all the boys today.
Fundamentally false.
No, I'm sorry. Women's.
Stop talking
Oh,
for a
wow.
second. Now let me finish.
Where is this coming from, dude?
But dude, you want to smoke this 7A?
Yes.
Hi, me? This me?
Yes.
Is this me?
Is it me?
It is you.
Is this me? Hello, is this me?
I think it is you. Who is you? No sound. Every single freaking day. What's on your mind?
Sports.
We can discuss free markets and we can discuss capitalism.
I'm gonna go throw up.
Libertarians.
They're so stupid, though.
Common sense says, of course.
Gobbledygook.
We fucking nailed him.
So what's 79 plus 21?
Challenge Matt.
I'm positively quivering. I believe 96, I want to say.
857-210-501. 1/2. 3/8.
9/11, for instance.
$3,400, $1,900.
654 $3 trillion sold. It's a zero-sum game.
Actually, you're making me think less of it.
But let me say this. Poop.
Call it satire. Sam goes to satire.
On top of it all,
Yeah.
my favorite part about you is just like every day, all day, like
Yeah.
everything you do.
Without a doubt. Hey, buddy, we seen you. All right, folks.
It's just the weak being weeded out, obviously.
Yeah, sun's out, guns out. I don't know.
But you should know.
People just don't like to entertain ideas anymore.
I have a question. Who cares?
Our chat is enabled, folks.
I love it.
I do love that.
Look, gotta jump. Gotta be quick. I gotta jump.
I'm losing it, bro.
2 o'clock. We're already late, and the guy's being a dick. So screw him. Sent to a gulag?
Outrageous.
Like, what is wrong with you?
Love you, bye.
Love you. Bye-bye. We are back. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, is the fun half of the Majority Report. It is your opportunity to I am the show, and basically give us a piece of your mind. I don't know what else to say.
Give us a piece of your mind.
Yeah.
That's a good selling point.
Well, yeah, sure.
I agree. I'm not being sarcastic.
Oh, okay. Mad Max. The Minnesota House, pending a special election in a deep blue district, has